Hey guys, it's me Jack, and today I will be doing my long-awaited walkthrough of how I solved the corner helicopter 2x2. So I'm finally solving now at a high enough level that this walkthrough shouldn't become completely obsolete after I make it. So fingers crossed that all my solving techniques are still relevant after I post this. Yeah, I currently hold most of the WBs for this puzzle, and I'm one of the top solvers. So I thought now is an appropriate time to make a walkthrough. So, quick disclaimer that most of the techniques I use for this puzzle are pretty much just intuition and have just come from doing a lot of solves. So, if you just basically do a lot of solves, you'll probably develop some of the same strategies that I use, but hopefully, this walkthrough helps a lot. I'd like to give a couple quick thanks before we get into it though. First is Stephen Winteringham. Stephen introduced me to this puzzle and has basically been the co-founder in the speed solving community for this puzzle. He made a small batch of slightly magnetized puzzles, as in just the 2x2 turns are magnetized, although he's currently working on perfecting a fully magnetized version, which I'll probably hopefully get my hands on pretty soon. Steven also developed the Scrambler, which I basically used ever since the 220 and is now what everyone uses for submitting official times for this puzzle. Steven has been a huge help, and this community basically wouldn't exist without him, so huge thanks to him. Also, just a quick general shout out to the Corner Helicopter 2x2 Discord, which the link will be in the description, and you can basically ask any questions to a lot of the top solvers and basically find everything you need there. So please check it out. If you have any questions, I'm always active in there. I basically can help with pretty much everything about this puzzle, and if not, someone's usually pretty willing to help you out as well. So anyways, let's get right into the walkthrough. Alright, so before we get into the walkthrough, I'm going to give a quick intro on how the puzzle turns and how it scrambles. So the first type of move is just these standard 2x2 moves, and those just turn like this. So yeah, they affect the 2x2 type pieces, as you can see, and it acts just as normal as a regular 2x2. And it's notated with the normal 2x2 notation, so just F moves, R moves, and U moves, and of course their respective other types. Now next we have the edge turns, which turn in 180-degree increments like this. And so these affect the sets of midges. I will be calling these two inner pieces midges, and I will also be calling these two outer pieces wings for the duration of this. And so edge turns are notated with two letters. So as you can see in the scramble, UF is the up front edge. DL would be the down left edge. So that's this one, and so on with all 12 edges on the puzzle. And last, we have the corner turns. They turn in 120-degree increments, so they do have prime and regular notations, whereas the edges just have one type of move. And those have three letters to notate each one. So the up front left corner, or up front right corner, would be this one. The down left back corner would be this one, and so on. And so quickly to talk about the scramble, it consists of 5 lines of 13 moves. This, by the way, is the first version of the Scrambler, which Steven made, and it's the same as the current version, except the current version that everyone uses is able to output the scrambles directly into CS Timer. We hope to get the scrambles into CS Timer, completely someday, but who knows. Currently, we haven't found a way to random state scramble this puzzle because there are way too many permutations, similar to Megaminx or the big cubes. So I'm going to quickly go through the scramble. So, as you can see, the first lines, we have the 2x2 moves, F2, R prime, U2, and then UBR prime is going to be this back corner, DFR prime is going to be this corner, DFL is this corner, DBR is this corner, and then the edges, so we have UF, UL, FR, DF, DB, and DR. And that's one line of the scramble, and there's 5 lines, which I'm just going to speed through real quick. And there we go. The puzzle is now scrambled. So I'm going to start with my method. So the method we developed, we call it similar to Yao, the 4x4 method. It's only really similar when you get to the later steps of the puzzle, but the first step is solving the 2x2 portion, which is basically just comprised of these centers, which act as pieces on a 2x2. So I just use Ortega and a little bit of LBL, or a little bit of CLL, but mostly LBL for the 2x2 portion. So I'm just going to real quick solve the 2x2. So this isn't going to be a complete tutorial, but hopefully you know how to solve a 2x2 and you can just figure this out. So there's the 2x2 portion solved. And so as you can see, all the centers are solved. There's no color scheming to worry about or anything. And now we get into solving the white midges on the puzzle. So that's going to be these 8 pieces here. So the way we go about solving these is basically, I find one that needs to be solved. For example, this white-green can be solved down here. This other one's already solved, which is pretty lucky. So I would just do an L prime here. I would flip the UF edge and then move it back down. This is kind of similar to edge pairing on a 4x4. So next I see that this white-orange one can be solved down here, like this. Next, this white-orange one can be solved down here. I also would like to note that I do try to solve them in the correct orientation, as it's going to make solving the wings a lot easier. Next, I have this one I see, and normally I think that the white midges and as well as the yellow midges kind of make or break the solve most of the time. So I try to look ahead as much as possible. So here's a fun case, and this is one that's pretty important. So I need to solve this white one here, so I can just do 2x2 setup moves, and although it does unsolve this piece, it's going to be unaffected. And now I would actually move this down so that when this gets solved, it solves this piece. And now I undo the 2x2 setup moves, and we have all the white midges solved. Keep in mind, this is not going to be a full tutorial, and I don't think I will ever make one of those. But if someone does make one, maybe I'll link it in the description. So next, this has actually been a pretty lucky solve so far. I can solve this yellow-blue in 3 moves like that. Alright, the next step is solving the yellow midges. The reason we do the yellow midges next instead of like the second layer midges is because we don't solve them until after we solve the white wings, because it allows for better spinderization, as we like to call it. I'll get in more into what that is in a bit. Now before I solve this last yellow-green, I actually see a pretty nice 2-cycle of this yellow-red and this yellow-orange that can just be done like that. So I would do that really quickly, and then I would move into solving this last yellow-green like that, similar to the case we did on the white-blue earlier. And now there's just 2 pieces left, and one I can solve like this. As you can see, I don't really care about solving the yellow ones in orientation, even though I happen to, but you don't really need to. Now next, we're going to do the sort of Yao step where we solve the white wings on the puzzle. So 2 of them have already skipped, which is pretty lucky. But what spinderization is, which is just a funny word you can come up for it, is basically using the 2x2 moves here to move wings around the puzzle a lot more effectively. Because normally if I wanted to get, let's say this white-orange wing all the way over here where it needs to be solved, I'd have to do a bunch of corner and edge turns just to get it there. Whereas instead, I can just do 2x2 moves and it can be solved a lot quicker. So I solve them on the right. So I'm just going to quickly go about solving these. Again, this is pretty basic intuitive block building techniques. It's just kind of stuff after a lot of solves you start to pick up on. One thing that's pretty important is making sure you are solving them in the correct orientation the first time. So for example, pretend like this one wasn't solved, not accidentally solving it here and then having to fix it later. So now we have all of the white wings solved. And so now I would solve the rest of the 2x2 and then go about solving the slice midges. So this is pretty easy. Just basically a bunch of of the adjacent cases, which are the easiest ones, as opposed to having to do like more than one 2x2 setup move. And now we are on to the last 16 wings of the puzzle. This is where a lot of the luck can come into play. So basically, I like to solve at least the bottom wings in all the slots and then work my way up. Now here I see a really lucky case where I can solve both in 3 moves. So I would do that. Next I see I can solve this one pretty quickly by doing this. Now you might notice that this isn't paired up correctly, but it actually doesn't really matter since I can just move this out of the way first and now it's solved. Here I do see this edge is skipped, but it's really hard to preserve in this stage, so I probably wouldn't even go about trying to preserve it. Next I see I can solve this in 1 move and then can solve this one after. Now normally it is kind of bad practice to solve diagonal sets of wings first, but here I didn't. I solved these 2 adjacent because it can make it just can add a lot of extra setup moves you have to do to preserve pieces. So next I'm going to solve this orange-green like this, and now I just have 1 piece left. And so now for the last 8 pieces, there's a lot of luck that can come into play here, but it's a lot of applications of just 3 cycles. So for example, I look for a lot of basically unoriented wings like this, and then you just set up and do basically kind of the equivalent of a sledgehammer, if you are familiar with that from pyramid solving, and so that solves both of them at once. Here I see I can do it again on this blue-yellow, and now for the last 2 sets you can get some kind of bad cases like this one. However, there's some algs for them, and we have them available in the Discord if you need to find them. I'm just going to quickly go over this case, which is a pretty easy, I think it's 7 moves, but basically how you would think about it intuitively is you solve one of these pieces, and then you basically, instead of unsolving it and then doing another 3 cycle, this is actually 5 moves, I just realized, then you just cancel into the other 3 cycle. That's probably one of the best cases you can get for last 2 wings, besides, just the normal 3 cycle like this. But yeah, and now the puzzle's solved. So hopefully this walkthrough did give a lot of insight into how you can implement these techniques in Corner Helicopter 2x2. Again, if you did enjoy and want to learn even more about this puzzle, please check out the Discord in the description, and you can also make sure to subscribe here, because I hope to post some more videos about Corner Helicopter 2x2 as well as just my general solves. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.